Hello, what's your name?
My name is Jacques.
Hello, Jacques. Welcome to the Science Shed.
Thank you. I am from the European continent. Am I
Oh.
still welcome
You-
in the science shed?
Everyone is welcome to the Science Shed,
But
Fred,
what
especially
about
you.
The Brexit.
Yeah, we're not too happy about Brexit, but the good thing about the Science Shed is it's available all over the world.
Do I not need some new visa to come
You don't need a
here?
visa to listen to the Science Shed. Everyone is welcome.
That's great.
So the Science Shed's a science podcast that comes out every 2 weeks. It's me. I'm Stephen Lee. I'm a university academic from the University of Cambridge, and my colleague here is Nick Evans.
Do you make jokes and act silly and that kind of thing?
We would never be silly. We don't. We're Brits. We don't have any. We don't have any sense
Why
of humour.
not?
Because we're British. We have no sense of humour.
I do not understand.
We kick everyone out
Okay.
all the time.
So what should I do if I want to come in and listen?
Well, I tell you what. You sit down.
Okay.
Get yourself a pastis.
Oh, Ricard.
Exactly. And
Oh,
we'll
bien.
get on with it. How about that?
That sounds very good. Thank you, Mr. Steve.
Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Come on, Steve.
Bunsen,
Burner!
Dolly,
Machine!
internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need
Steam!
Petri,
Dishes!
Austin,
Base!
Isaac,
Newton!
transplanting?
Bye-bye!
Oh, hello, Steve.
Nick,
Oh,
how are you?
I'm all right. I've just come up to London on the train.
Me too. You look a bit manic today.
Oh, I am a little bit. I feel full of energy.
He's got this kind of crazy look in his eye.
Steve, I'm fit at the moment. I'm going to Mallorca on my bike in a week or so, actually, and I've been training.
Nice. How far you been?
I went 50 miles on Saturday.
That's good.
And I went 50 miles on Tuesday, and I went mountain biking in the mud last night for 20 miles. I was on the train.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit stressed at the same time because I had an argument with the steward, the dude who sells the tea and the
Right.
stuff. I feel really bad about it, Steve.
What happened?
Well, he was a bit of an
So,
idiot.
Nick's rushing because he's a bit late. He's trying to get on the train to London. Probably wants a coffee because he hasn't had time to have one, and he's a bit cranky.
Yeah,
And he
I was
gets on
really
the train.
thirsty and needing some caffeine.
Right. Okay.
And then he comes down. I was waiting for him.
Yeah.
So I was fully expecting the trolley to come.
Is it like when you're on an aeroplane and you can see they're coming and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get my sandwich. Yeah.
They move a bit quick on the train, to be
Yeah.
fair. But it took a while, and then I saw him coming. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a cup of tea. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait to have my cup of tea.
Yeah.
No hot bloody water was there on his trolley?
I would say that was the kind of basic, the bare bones you would need on a trolley is a cup of tea.
But the thing is, when I asked him, can I have a cup of tea? He said, no, there's no hot water. That's why I said cold drinks only.
Like you should know.
Immediately defensive, right? And he looked like a bit like a grey Saxondale, and he had that miserable countenance.
So in your head, you're hoping him to say, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir. Unfortunately, we don't have any hot water."
I know, and I'd heard him earlier on making sort of quips, amusing quips when
Right.
he was announcing it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. It's
Oh.
a bit of a personality. then.
Some wine for you if you want to have it, ladies. That sort of thing. And I was like thinking, this guy's a knob.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes past, and then within 20 seconds, he comes over the announcement, because I was near the front. He comes on the announcement and says, oh, my friend Gus has sorted out the hot water problem. We now have hot water. So I was like, yes, get in.
Yeah.
So I walked. I got out of my seat immediately.
Caught him up.
I went to him and said, oh, can I have a cup of tea, please?
Yeah.
And anyway, he seemed a bit
So did you
put
get your tea?
out that I'd come so soon. I think he was annoyed that I'd got out of my seat and come straight away.
Because you really wanted your cup
So
of
he
tea.
was haffawing and fiddling at the lock, and then he got the tea out, made me my cup of tea, and he said, milk? And I said, yes, please. And he said, anything else? And I was like, no, it's all right. Thinking he was like a bag of crisps or something. So he gave me a tea. I said, oh, can I have some sugar as well? And I said, that's why I asked whether you wanted anything else.
What a prick.
And no, but I went into like polite mode, and I went, oh,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
And he went, it's all right, my teenage daughters don't listen to me either.
Ooh.
So I thought, well, hang on a minute. I was a bit surprised. I didn't do anything. I
Yeah.
just kind of
That's the
thought,
one that
well, is
seems
this
that-
like a little joke
Oh,
between
right.
the
Okay.
two?
Right. So he's being a bit. So it's not like confrontational. It's a bit jovial.
No, I think it was confrontation.
Oh,
I sat
okay.
down and I seized
Start-
the deceit.
started
The
to
more I
stew.
thought about it, the more the
Like-
thought went round in my brain from
Like-
one part of the brain to the other, the more angry I became.
Like the
I
tea
became
in your
angrier
drink.
and angrier and angrier and more angry. And eventually I got out of my seat after I drank my tea.
Prepared
and he had his
yourself.
trolley
Yeah.
in front of the bin.
Yeah.
And I walked past him and I stared him in the eye and I rammed my drink. in the bin behind
Right.
the trolley without really acknowledging him. He didn't
Right.
react.
No.
And you know what I did then?
Did you give him a tut?
I went on the internet and I found how to give feedback to Southwestern trains.
You should have tweeted them.
And I made a complaint.
Wow. Well, there you go.
It's a very short complaint. It was more constructive feedback. I think your steward was very rude.
Yeah.
But I feel bad about it. Steve.
No, don't feel bad about it. If he was a nice person, you wouldn't have had to have given him negative feedback.
To be honest with you, he must do that on a regular basis.
Maybe give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's having a bad day. Okay, well, let's. Why don't we try and cheer you up a bit by getting on with the podcast? How about
Yeah.
that? Nick,
Steve.
so guess what I did this week? Always in the gutter. Always.
I don't know. What did you do this
Wait,
week?
me and my lad did the Science Museum Lates this week.
Oh, I know about that because
Yeah.
I saw you on Twitter. And
Yeah.
I had a look at some of your photos.
It was like it was really good fun. I want to kind of talk about it a little bit. 'Cause then I
Yeah.
can recycle some old content and pretend like it's.
Well, I was
Doing
going to
Cycom.
ask you about it
Yeah.
anyway because I saw about it and it looked cool.
Yeah, it was fun. So so the Science Museum Lates, for anyone who doesn't know, is kind of a few times a year. I think it's kind of like 10 times a year. They open the Science Museum in Kensington, but they don't let any kids in, and it's in the evening, and they have like bars, and so people can have a beer, walk around without any kind of screaming children, and look at not just the standard Science Museum exhibitions, but they also put on kind of temporary ones, and they're all kind of like focused to different subjects. So previously there was one about maths and code. This one was sponsored by the Royal Society, who fund me, and it was called The Next Big Thing. So we submitted a grant proposal, and our exhibition was called How a Gin and Tonic Can Save Your Life.
How can a gin and tonic save your life,
Yeah,
Steve?
well,
It's bad for you, gin and tonics.
well. So what we spoke about is
I know
that-
they're bad for you.
what, gin and tonics.
Yeah, because if I have 10 of them, I feel really terrible.
We
for several
gave
days.
away free booze. Well, I think our exhibition was particularly popular.
I think you probably broke some rule there.
No, actually, I'll tell you what happened, right? So I came in, you have to submit a rider, right? So you basically have to
Well,
tell
rider,
the Science
like,
Museum.
like in Spinal Tap.
Yeah, exactly. But not for like you, but for what you need to do the exhibition, right?
So what did you say?
So we needed some ice and some cups, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously we're giving away booze.
So they can sort that out for you.
They can sort that out. I needed
That's
loads of
wicked.
and we needed plugs.
Normally you have to do all this bull.
No, they sorted that, and I needed 3 TV screens, right? so we turned up there, early, massively unorganized. No one was there. We were organized, in a kind of very unlike me, but it was because the rest of my lab and the people that were helping out, they were much more organized than I were. So everything, we were there early. We had time to spare, which is very unlike me. Anyway. Went to them, like we only had we had 45 minutes from when the museum closed at 6 to when the Lates opened at 6:45.
Pretty fast turnaround, eh?
Pretty fast. You got to
what
go
you gotta
in,
do
you got to
those
set
45
everything
minutes?
up.
You got a desk.
Got the desk.
Have you got like a van with a bunch of stuff
We had
in it?
a whole van full of stuff
Oh
that we had to like
my
move into the
God.
Science Museum, set up. Anyway,
This
we wanted
is when
some
you
ice.
want to be doing like maths, isn't it? And you just write numbers on a bit of paper
Exactly.
and sticking them on a board.
So we needed ice, right? And the woman came up to me and she's like, "Well, didn't get that on the rider." I'm like, "Well, it should have been on the rider. Why wasn't it on the rider? It's integral to our communication strategy."
Did you lose it like Nigel Tufnell and
little
Spinal
bit.
Tap with
I
the
got-
little sandwiches with the meat that didn't fit quite in the bread and he couldn't understand it? Was it like that?
It was. I did get a bit
Look,
pissed
where's
off.
the ice? I don't understand where the ice is. Look,
Yeah.
I said on my rider, well, I'm not performing.
Exactly, that's what it was like. But anyway, the woman came up to me and she's like, "Well, she nearly wasn't going to let us do it." And I was like, "Why not?" And she was like, "Well, you haven't done like food and safety certificate on how to put ice in a cup."
I can see your face reddening already.
Ice
I can see
in
you
a
getting a bit angry.
cup, Nick. I'm like, these people are doing PhDs at Cambridge University. They can handle putting ice in a cup. And they were just like, "No, we can't do it. We can't. We absolutely. There is no way around this. You cannot. There is no way anyone could possibly teach you to put ice in a cup."
So had you not filled out a form?
I had. And they said, "Well, if we would have got this, we would have told you." I'm like, "Well, I filled the form in as you asked." Anyway, I came up with a solution on the fly. I was thinking fast. I was like, "Okay, well, can I just get a bucket and chill the gin and chill the tonic in the ice,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
don't put the ice in the cup?" Because
Yeah,
it was the ice in the cup they were
Oh
unhappy
my
with.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah,
so
and
there's
that-
ice there, but the problem is with transferring it from one container to another
so
container.
the ice is in a cup. The ice is in a big box, and so we weren't allowed to put the ice in the cup and have someone drink from the cup with the ice in it. But we could have the ice around the liquid.
Oh my God, this is melting my brain. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. So you were going to make gin and tonic with ice in it?
We were going to make gin and tonic
with ice in it.
Yeah, and we weren't allowed.
But you
to
weren't
that.
allowed to put because
No.
you could put the gin in the glass and you could put the tonic in the glass.
That's fine.
You can't put the ice in the glass.
Exactly.
Are you messing with me? I would have just disobeyed. I would have just done it anyway.
Well,
and then I would have laughed. I looked at them across the room and
they would have
smiled.
taken the ice away. They were going to take the ice
You
away.
would physically stop them.
I should have had a fight in the Science Museum.
Why are they going to do that? I can't believe
know.
it.
Anyway.
I feel really angry.
Yeah, it's annoying, right?
Vicariously.
So let me walk you through why a gin and tonic can save your life, actually, so we can actually do, rather than just my annoyance, we can actually do some, actually what the science
Come
behind
on,
it was
Steve.
fun.
I think I've got a good idea of why gin and tonic can save your life, because I know a bit about what's in tonic.
That's right. Well, so what is in tonic, Nick?
Well, there's quinine, isn't there?
There is quinine. So quinine is the compound in tonic that makes it bitter.
Yeah,
which is the nice
delicious.
bit. Yeah.
Oh, delicious.
And tonic, and in fact, do you know what? I've got
It's
it
from
here.
India, isn't
I'm going
it?
to show Nick a picture
Is
of
it all from India,
the structure. No, not anymore. It's all synthesized now.
Is it?
Yeah.
So tonic is not natural?
No. Well, it was originally isolated from tree bark, but now you just make it out of bottles of chemicals.
Ligarium something like
Yeah.
that.
So I'm going to show Nick. This is the structure of quinine. I've got it here because I've still got it from our night in the Science Museum. And there's like two bits of it.
It means boggle to me.
Well,
Steve.
the other, and we'll post
Are you
this.
going to tweet that?
Yeah, we'll tweet this. But it's kind of interesting because quinine, probably people are familiar with, was the first anti-malarial drug.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I know that people took. I mean, that's why it's in India. People ate this tree bark. Or made drinks from it because it was anti-malarial.
Yeah. So now we don't really use it. And in fact, most strains of malaria are quinine resistant now, apparently.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really work
you take
anymore.
similar things, chloroquine and things like that, which are probably structurally related to
That's
quinine.
exactly right. But there's kind of two halves to the molecule that make it really beautiful. Like one of it is the bit that's anti-malarial, which is this bit here, which I'm pointing out to Nick, and we'll tweet out. And the other part is this bit, and that's the bit that makes it glow blue.
Oh,
So if
wow.
you've ever been in a club or something and you've seen like somebody with a blue glowing drink under a black light,
In the club.
it's almost certainly a G&T.
In the club.
Or it's almost certainly God, I didn't know 50 Cent was here.
In the club.
We've got to sample that and put that behind a beat. God, I didn't know 50 Cent was here.
In the club. In the club. In the club. In the club.
And the other part is this bit, and that's the bit that makes it glow blue.
In the club. In the club, club. In the club. Oh, sorry, I can't do the fiddy voice. Anyway,
So these and that glowing blue is a phenomenon called fluorescence, and we work on fluorescence in our lab. So fluorescence, for anyone who doesn't know, isn't like scientists like to complicate things, but all fluorescence is the absorbing one color light and spitting out a different color light. That's all it is. So in your gin and tonic, when you're in the club, Nick, can we say?
in the club.
When you're in the club.
Oh, sorry, I can't do the fiddy voice.
When you're in the club,
I'm so down with the gangster.
you really are, aren't you? We're so
Is he
we're
still
so
current,
street.
fiddy?
No, he's not. I don't think.
I had a T-shirt once that my cousin-in-law,
Yeah.
my fiance's cousin, bought me. It must have been a 50th birthday present, and he found it in a charity shop. It just said "I'm Fiddy" on it. And I really,
Please tell me you used to wear it everywhere. Did you like it?
It was Randy bought me that. Hello, Randy.
Hello, Randy, friend of the Science Shed.
Anyway,
yeah. So this kind of that kind of blue glow. What we use that for, we can use that in the lab. We use that as a way of lighting up the inside of cells and the outside of cells, for that matter. So the problem is, if you just take a microscope and look down the microscope at some cells, the refractive index, so i.e. the kind of inside of it, it's very difficult to tell different parts of a cell because they all interact with light in about the same way. But by attaching some of these molecules that glow to specific bits of the cell, what you can do is you can make the inside of the cell, so for instance the nucleus or where the DNA is or where the membranes are, you can make them glow different colors, and therefore you can see what's going on.
yeah.
So that's kind of used quite extensively. And then what we do in our lab is one of the things we're working on is we're using this fluorescence microscopy, which is we don't use quinine, but we use chemically related compounds. And we're using it to try and understand the kind of molecular origin of adaptive immunity. So when your body has a
molecular origin of adaptive immunity.
Yeah.
Jargon alert.
Jargon alert.
What's
Okay.
that?
So basically, you have cells in your body that make a decision whether you've been infected by a bacteria or a virus.
So they're chugging along and they're going, "Hello, this is normal. This is my house. Look at this. It's all normal down here.
Yeah.
The walls I recognize as my blood vessel here. Further on
Where's
the corner
this T cell from?
is a European. I don't belong. And then a bit later on, who's that man?
Exactly. So, but they
What's that?
So what
He's
they
not in my house.
Yeah. So these cells.
I gotta kill him.
That was a killer T cell, was it?
I think I'm a macrophage.
Okay,
Killer
fair.
T cell is more like this. Hey, mate, okay, yeah, okay, go
Hello.
around. Yeah, it's normally like that. But then
A bit dopey.
Yeah, you get switched on by someone else. And
Exactly.
someone comes along and goes, "Hello, Mr. T cell, I got something for you." And then he goes,
Lazaro's back.
"Okay, I got to kill. Yeah."
Wow, so there you go. So there's those cells are called T cells because they're made in your thymus, in your neck, and they have to make a decision, much like Nick just went through for you there. But what we don't really understand, as much as you might believe Nick's rendition of a T cell making a decision, is we don't really understand how that works. So we're using it in the lab. We're trying to use these fluorescent things to be able to try and understand how the cells make a decision, and it's really impressive, right? So you have a receptor on the surface.
Receptor.
Do you know what that is?
Oh, well, I don't know. A receptor.
okay.
A receptor's like a little thing that sticks out a cell, and only one thing will fit into it.
Yeah.
And when it fits into it, the cell knows. It's like
The
a
se-
little.
yeah,
sensor.
this is a sensor. Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a
little
sensor.
sensor.
So the cell that in your body, it's been shown that you have all these cells going around to check whether you're infected, and on the surface of all of those cells, there's a receptor, right? There's this little sensor, and it's shown that like between 1 and 2 of those sensors on the surface of those cells, and of your about, I don't know how many T cells you got, but there's millions of cells. Just one of those changing state, that sensor working on one, can initiate an entire immune response. Mm-hmm. The whole thing of you being ill can be initiated by one thing, and we've got no idea how it works. So what we're trying to do at the Science Museum is explain that, and then we had a little game, and then people had to guess some things from a game, and if they won it, they won a free G&T without ice in it.
They won
Without
a
ice in
game.
it. They had a little
Goodness
game, yeah.
me.
So, but to be honest, when we started off, we went and bought. So what we had to do, Nick, we had to go and buy the gin, right? So I went into Sainsbury's, and I'm there with my PhD student, and I was like, how much gin do we need? And so we made a little kind of quick back of the envelope calculation, like how many gins we're going to give away, and I was like, okay, well, we'll probably need about 3 or 4 bottles of gin, right?
3 or 4 bottles of gin.
And he was like,
But how many people?
No,
3 or 4 bottles of gin. That's
it's
how many shots in a bottle of gin?
30.
30 shots. That
Yeah.
doubles or normals?
Normal singles.
Okay, so 4 times 30, 120 shots.
Yeah, over about a 4 hour period or something.
And how many people visited your little store?
We don't know, but there was about 5,000 people in the Science Museum.
That's
It was
pretty cool.
massively
Did
busy
you do
the
any
whole time.
feedback stuff?
I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. So it was kind of. So we were there, and I was like, "Oh, we need a few bottles." And my PhD student, I think we need 10 bottles of gin,
Yeah, I
Steve.
think that's fair enough.
And I
Because
was
you
like,
can always keep them.
That's exactly what
Where
we've
are they
done.
now, Steve?
They're in the lab.
How many do you have left?
We've got like 3 bottles
What are you
left.
going to do with them?
We're going to drink them on Friday.
Bosh. I hope they're high quality.
It's Gordon's.
Gordon's is fine.
Yeah.
You know what? I think people go way over the top.
There's
of
a bit of a
which
gin
ultimately-
revolution, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's nonsense. Because ultimately, gin is just mixed with something.
Indeed.
So
no one
what
has
the
a
bit-
shot of gin on their
Ah.
after a long day in the lab. I come back.
That annoys me when people say, I
Oh,
can't-
cucumber
I'm
with-
not
with
having,
Hendrix."
No, I'm not having the London gin. No, I need the Bombay Sapphire or the Tanqueray. No,
They all taste exactly the
Scrub
same.
that. Not the Tanqueray, the Bombay Sapphire. That's the one that I want.
So just to kind of finish, it was like, so they set the team set up, and I had to pissed off.
Yeah.
Because I had to go and do another podcast. I'm moonlighting on a different podcast on Level Up Human, which is a great podcast. All our listeners should check it out.
Hello, Level Up Human.
Yeah. But anyway, I came back, and we had like loads of like there was just swamped. There was like a few different exhibitions all in one place, and we were put in the dark bit because we had like all of our like chemical glassware all lit up. And we came back, and like we were basically the busiest one and you could see all the other people looking back. They were a bit jealous, and it was because we had pretty colours and we gave away booze. It's pretty simple, really. That's the essence to any good science communication.
Well
it's
done.
free booze and pretty colours.
Crikey.
But it was great. I didn't really do much. My team did it all. They did a great job.
So I want to tell you about my public engagement experience as well.
This week?
Well, it wasn't this week. It's a while ago.
Oh,
but
good.
it just reminded me, you talking about trying to get various things at various parts
that's
of the
annoying,
day.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so we applied to do one at the BBSC, it ended up being in East London. So
Yeah.
it was in a park in East London, Bethnal Green Park.
Yeah, I know Bethnal Green Park.
Yeah,
Very nice.
So we had a big tent there.
Oh, yeah.
This is a couple of years ago now, and we had this. We've got this thing called the Stem Cell Mountain.
Right.
Have I told you about the Stem Cell Mountain?
No, but why are you putting the emphasis on cell?
Stem Cell Mountain.
Stem cell mountain.
I don't
It's a
know.
stem cell mountain.
Stem Cell Mountain.
Stem cell.
I'm terribly sorry. Anyway,
Okay, no,
the
tell me
idea-
about the stem cell mountain.
So my colleague John, it's really his brainchild, but we developed it together, and it's this big. It's like a big table with a mountain in the middle, and there's a huge Archimedes screw.
Right.
Right? Sounds weird. What's that got to do with
It's a
stem
screw.
cells? Well, the idea is to show how stem cells differentiate into different.
Oh, so they all go to the top of the mountain and they roll to different downsides
It's
of
a
the mountain.
landscape of channels.
Oh, I like that. So it's like
And-
differentiation, but shown in 3D.
And you've got little knobs around the edge, so
Yeah.
the kids can move these knobs and they can change flippers and little jumpers to fire them.
yeah, how big is this?
It must be about 6 feet in diameter.
Oh, so it's big.
It's a big thing, and it's about waist high. And the
Cool.
Archimedes screw is higher than a person.
And so what do you do? Do you lift up
Why-
balls?
Yeah, marbles, loads of marbles, and this is where I'm going. So you've got this big wheel that you turn round.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Archimedes screw
Yeah.
takes the marbles up.
Yeah,
It's
so-
designed so that the marbles catch, that they go up all the way in this big screw contraption
Yeah.
at the top. And then there are all these runs, like helter-skelter runs, which come
Like
out...
Screwball Scrambles.
Exactly.
I tell you what you've made. You've made a combination of Screwball Scramble and Hungry Hungry Hippos.
It's a bit like that, and it makes a noise exactly like Hungry Hippos, very loud noise.
Right.
But anyway, the marbles
The
go down
trouble
and
with
then they
Hungry
drop down.
Hippos was that the plastic that the arm, because everyone just hammered the edge really hard, and the plastic always broke.
Yeah.
Why? Do you have the same problem with Stem Cell Mountain?
Oh, a stem cell mount. No, we don't actually. It does break, but it's mainly to do. There's a system of pulleys. It's quite lo-fi. It's like basically
does it look homemade?
bike cables and things like that,
Yeah.
which attach everything and all the rest of it.
Cool.
But yeah, the marbles go down and the kids can control it. So we were doing this in this tent, and we got a number of other
What
exhibits.
kids? How
to
old
do.
are the kids?
These were little kids.
Right.
So like, don't know, 9, 10, 11.
Okay.
Thousands of them came through. I think it was something in the region of 3,000 to 4,000 kids
Right.
over the course of 2 days. Anyway, we started off with something in the region of 500 marbles. Do you know how many marbles we had left at the end of day one?
7.
About 40 marbles left. They were all pocketed. Right?
Well, why
so
not?
we're in Bethnal Green
Marble
at 5
shopping.
p.m. in London. 5
I had to
p.m.
get 5,000 brown M&Ms or Ozzy wouldn't go on stage.
We need 500 marbles. Do you
Right.
know- so we Googled marble sellers.
Marble shops.
You know what? We found one.
No.
We went there on the bus and we bought 500 marbles.
How much is
that very
500
night.
marbles
I
cost?
can't actually remember now.
Are you literally the guy from Wayne's World,
A
aren't
few
you?
£100. It may be 200 or 300 quid, something like that.
It was like...
But it was a great experience, and with that, I can't remember. We did feedback. So one of the problems with the feedback as well was they
Yeah.
did this board. So it's important to collect feedback if you're doing public
Course.
engagement, because
Course.
you need to know what the result was.
Yeah, or whether
So there's a board, and they had stickers, and at the top it was it's how much did you enjoy this?
Yeah.
And if you really enjoyed it, you put your sticker at the top, and if you didn't enjoy it, you put your sticker right at the bottom.
Yeah.
The problem was kids weren't big enough to put the stickers at the top, so we ended up. With
So it's not the feedback is not about it's about the feedback form. The mechanism for feedback was flawed, not the quality
Exactly.
of the.
I was not involved in the design of the feedback. I hasten to add.
Okay.
But it's a great experience, and it gives you,
It's a
like
good
you say
idea,
with the
though.
gin and tonics, that was exciting because the stem cell mounting thing is a massive contraption that you can play with. So the kids
Yeah.
immediately gravitate towards it. But then you've got a number of other things. So there was a bunch of us all standing round.
Yeah.
And then you can collar like their parents or even the kids, and you
Yeah.
can explain
So
why
is it
stem
it
cells
must
are
be
important
really loud?
and why you're using them. Yeah, it's a loud thing.
But
It's
how?
like
But
Hungry
like,
Hippo
doesn't
noise.
it? Doesn't
Like
it?
a pinball sort of thing.
doesn't it give you like a headache if you've got to stand by it for like 3 hours?
Well, it's just so tiring anyway, and you'll
Yeah.
know, having done an exhibit for 3 hours. This was over 3 days, 9 to 5.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but we were doing it in
Yeah.
2-hour blocks, which was enough. And you're talking to people saying pretty much the same thing over and over again for 3 days.
You forget when you're
and
mid-spiel, don't you? You forget, have I already told them about this, or am I going to have to tell them, or am I repeating myself?
Exhausted is an understatement.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
felt every day like I'd done a really solid day's work because your brain hurt and your mouth was dry.
The thing is, at the end of our thing, Nick, we had to pack it up. Pack it all up. We did all that there. We had to pack it up and put it back in the van before we could even go to the
You
pub.
must have been knackered.
Yeah, it's good though.
Yeah, we had to pack. I remember the packing up being a massive pain in the neck.
Yeah.
But it just got done in the end. And there were so many of us. That's since gone, by the way, the Stem Cell Mountain.
Stem Cell Mountain.
Stem Cell Mountain. It's gone to Glastonbury. It's been
It's
to
on tour.
festival. Yeah, it's going to be at Glastonbury this year. So if any of you are lucky enough to get tickets, there are a number of free tickets. The roadshow.
Can't you just
from the
can't you
uni
just
gets.
blag it and just stand by the Stem Cell Mountain for like?
Yeah. So
for a
last
little bit.
last year I had the opportunity to go to Glastonbury, but the thing is, I'm a grown up now, Steve, and there are students
Right.
arguably who may appreciate more getting a free Glastonbury ticket. This year they're not so sure because
Whatever, now-
Radiohead are headlining. So if I have the opportunity, I think I'm going to elbow the
Nick,
PhD students out of the way.
That's you're in that position of power now. You can make that call.
I can make the call, but
Yeah.
then feel bad about it. I've got too much of a conscience, Steve. I can't
Don't do
deal
it.
with it.
Nah.
If I did it, I'd enjoy it so much, but I'd also feel guilty about it.
Use your powers for
using
bad.
it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So Stem Cell Mountain, if you're around in any of the summer festivals,
sounds
it's
fun.
it'll be at Cheltenham Science Festival. It'll be at Glastonbury.
Does the Stem Cell
It'll be
Mountain
at
have a Twitter
Festival, I
account?
think. It doesn't yet have a Twitter account.
You should totally get a Twitter account, or we can
we
tweet
need
it.
we need a website. The problem with it is, like anything, is having the time to invest in these
Look,
things.
if you've got the time to build a Stem Cell Mountain, you've got the time to make a Twitter account for it. I reckon it doesn't take long, and you can
All
just take a
right.
picture of it,
Yeah.
and then it will look good.
I
And then we
talk
can
to John about it.
All right,
Get it off the ground.
should we go get him now?
You wanna rap to the sounds of the past. Pulled on your money, cross and pulled in your glass. I didn't have the internet, which is a Game of Thrones, but still I had some fun saying shit like telephone.
This is a bit of a colour special. We're talking about colours all the time. I want to carry on talking about colours.
Are we talking about colours?
We're talking about fluorescence.
Oh
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
things glowing.
Colours. You're right.
So, I'm taking us back to Newton again.
Oh my goodness.
It gets even better.
Not again. I thought we.
Again, we've done 2. We haven't even scratched the surface.
Come on then.
Right. So people haven't listened to it. Go back and listen to the previous 2 podcasts where I get really excited about Isaac Newton's
So
letter.
they're podcasts 20 and 21, I believe.
Okay. So what I've done is I found a letter that when Sir Isaac Newton wrote a letter to the Royal Society talking about his discovery that light is composed of different colours.
Yeah.
And last time we finished with this sentence, which was amidst these thoughts, I was forced from Cambridge by the intervening plague.
Yeah, that's what he said though. You know, he had that Italian manservant he was having sexual relations
Yeah,
with.
Smithers.
Yeah.
He just went on a big.
I reckon he was going on a
rumspringer.
bender through
Just a 2-year bender.
East London. With his
Whiskey,
Italian
maybe with
manservant.
gin or whatever.
Good old Newton.
So I'm going to keep going because I think it gets good, right? So he's like,
Does it, Steve? Does
yeah.
it get good?
so he's forced from Cambridge, 1771.
Is this the diaries of Isaac Newton?
It's
or
one
the
letter.
paper?
This is one paper.
All right.
Right. And this is how good it is, right? So he says, and it was more for. So he's forced from
Get
Cambridge
him out.
because
Get
of the
the
plague.
words out, Steve.
And it
Come
was.
on. You can read. Come on. Do you want me to read it?
No, it's all right. And it was more than 2 years before I proceeded further. So he's just like finished his.
Fair play, man. 2-year break.
Yeah.
The plague would stop me working for a couple of years.
That's true. But then, having thought on a tender way of polishing proper for metal, whereby, as I imagined, the figure also would be corrected to the last. So, what that means, if you remember last time, he basically realised that lenses focus light to different planes, right? So we spoke about color, chromatic aberration.
This is
right?
like images going blurry in a
Yeah,
colour
you
kind
keep
of
on saying
way.
they're blurry, but they're not going blurry. They're
They're a bit
focusing.
blurry.
No, it's not blurriness.
It
It's
looks
focusing
blurry.
to different
Yeah,
planes.
but when you look at the picture, it looks blurry. It's like the edges are all coloury blurry. That's
They-
chromatic
the
aberration.
the colours separate.
Yeah,
because
but it
they're being
looks blurry.
It's not a blurriness.
Yeah, but it looks blurry.
doesn't-
Oh my God, Steve!
It doesn't matter how
I'm
you
going.
say it. He's literally got out of his chair. But what he realised, and this is so what he realised is that and the reason they're being focused at different planes is because light undergoes this refraction, right? It's bent by glass,
Different amounts.
different colours. But if you bounce it off a shiny surface,
Yeah.
it like bouncing light of reflection
Yeah.
doesn't matter about the color with reflection. It's only when it goes through a different medium it gets diffracted differently. So if you imagine taking a flat mirror and curving it,
Yeah.
so it was in the shape of a what's called a parabola.
Yeah.
What you can do there is you can then light gets focused by reflection rather than refraction.
So you don't get that
You don't get it.
blurriness.
It's not blurriness. But he didn't know how to polish metal. So because of the plague, he dicks about for a bit, working how to make metal shiny.
Yeah.
Because that was the trouble. Because to make metal shiny to reflect light in an effective way, you've got to polish it well.
You
And
reckon
he
he was
reckons-
getting his Italian friend to help him
So
polish?
polishes metal. Come and help me polish my metal.
Into YMCA, polishing metal.
Yeah. So anyway, he does it 2 years. He builds a microscope, right? Sorry, builds a telescope. He said, I began to try what might be affected in this kind, and by degrees so far perfected an instrument by which I could discern Jupiter's 4 concomitants. So he could see the moons of Jupiter from looking at it. He says, I could also discern the moon-like phase of Venus, but not very distinctly, nor without the niceness of disposing of the instrument. So he has a little go. He builds a microscope. In fact, today that's called a Newtonian reflecting microscope. So if you go into a shop and buy a telescope, there are two types, right? There's the so-called Galilean, which is kind of what you think of when you in your mind when you're imagining a telescope.
Yeah.
And then there's also a Newtonian reflecting telescope, and the way that works is it doesn't have a second lens.
Yeah.
So it's just got this shiny mirror in the back,
Yeah.
and it's the curvature of that parabola, the curvature of that mirror that focuses all of the light down to a point, and then you don't get the chromatic aberration. So anyway, he's happy with his idea, but he hasn't built a good enough telescope. And he says, from that time I was interrupted till this last autumn when I made another, and as that was sensibly better than the first, they will still be brought to much greater perfection by their endeavours. Oh God, that's a hard one. So basically, he makes.
Clever boy. So what he did was
Yeah.
he found he observed using science this chromatic aberration effect,
Yeah.
this kind of like separation of the light into colours, and then he thought, well, actually, if I wanted to do it better, I could just reflect all the light to a point, and that might be a better way of focusing
Exactly.
and magnifying things. So he went away and he did some technology development,
Yeah.
and he made his own amazing, much better.
But what I love about that, right, is he's doing these experiments and he's like thinking about light passing through glass, and it's thinking about, okay, well, how can I use that phenomenon to develop technology? He thought about it and he came back, right, and then I'll finish on this bit for this bit. So like so he's happy. He's built this instrument. He's like sent it down to London so people can use it. You can use it to see the moons of Jupiter and the phases of Venus. And then he goes, and I like this because, in my lab we build microscopes. I'm thinking of stealing this quote and putting it on our website.
Okay.
I have sometimes thought to make a microscope.
Is that it? Oh
That's
my
the whole
God.
sentence. He just
I
finishes
have
there.
sometimes thought to make a microscope. That's probably just to freak out Robert Hooke.
Yeah,
who was
that's
the
exactly right.
microscope dude.
In a minute, we won't talk about it now, but he actually goes and slags off Robert Hooke because he's like, Robert Hooke's supposed to be this badass of microscopy. I thought about it for 2 years and polished the metal, and it kicks the arse out your microscope.
Yeah.
And he did this all while just by thinking about it. Isn't it cool?
He's a horrible man, isn't he?
Why do you hate him? I think this is beautiful. Anyway, more of
Good.
Newton to come.
Oh, God.
Science shed! We're in the science shed! Science shed! We're in the science shed! Come on, Steve!
Bunsen.
Burner!
Dolly.
Machine!
Internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need?
Steve!
Petri,
Dishes.
Oscar,
Babe.
Isaac,
Newton.
transplanting.
Oh, Steve, have we finished?
That was all the colours we could talk about.
I'm sweating in my armpit areas.
Yeah, I could really do.
I feel really energetic. It's warm in this room.
I think I need some liquid. and
When you
maybe
get
some sugar.
energetic, like
Yeah.
speaking, do you find that your armpits sweat more than normal?
I do. Do you know what? Do you find that after you've been speaking a lot, you feel like high?
I find a bit high, but then I crash.
Oh, see, I don't crash. I
Crash
feel
into
like
the ball.
I like.
I'm
what
high
you do-
after, and then about an hour later, I'm kind of like sleeping at my desk, my head back,
Right.
spittle dribbling out.
Do you think that's all the
from,
listeners now are just like they're bored of us being manic? We should call this the manic podcast, and now they can. Well, should we go and crash, Nick?
Oh yeah, we should. Steve.
Well, if
and
they
the-
want to kind of follow us on social media,
Yeah.
they can kind of interact.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best way to get hold of us.
at the Evans Lab on Twitter for me.
And I'm at Steve the Chemist. And do you know what? We've got a couple of reviews on iTunes now.
Have we?
Yeah, we got 2.
And are they good?
We've got 5 5-star reviews,
Yeah.
and then everyone else. Then that's all the ones of people that just click the star buttons.
Yeah.
Somebody said, shall I read you the
Yeah, go
thing
on.
of it? Hold on.
I'm nervous.
We've got 2. So very thank you to the 2 people that have done that. We've been asking that for like
awesome,
3 weeks
guys.
now.
You can be
And-
really nasty. I don't mind.
But everyone else should. So if it would help us immensely if you could just write a review. It doesn't have to be
Please
a good
do.
one, but
Yeah.
just write it. So someone said, "Listen, and you'll be back for more!"
Oh,
Exclamation mark.
It's like a chocolate bar.
And Dr. Bov said, 2 hilarious science mates dropping golden science nano nuggets.
Dr. Bob!
There's more.
Gosh!
So tasty, brackets, also make you sound super intelligent and interesting down the pub when later passing them off as your own.
That is a great review.
Isn't it a good review?
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you, Dr. Bov. Please get in touch with us and maybe actually give us, slag us off, because that would also be just as funny. Particularly if you slag Nick off and not me.
Well, I don't mind being slapped off. My skin is now so thick. I've been in this job for so long. Nothing
Been
can hurt
beaten
me
down.
anymore. Been beaten so many times.
All right.
I can't get any lower. Beat away. Just beat my supine body. Bye.
Love you, bye.